စစ်ပြေးတဲ့နောက်ပိုင်းရှင်ဘာဖြစ်လို့ရှိအတော်တို့ဖက်မှာရှင်လင်းလာကြတာလင်းငါခေါက်တောင်ရှိပြီလေရှင်အဲ့ကြောက်တော့နော်ကြောက်ပမာဟို
You've got hundreds of thousands of people in the jungles hiding. They have no help. There is no food for them outside of what people are bringing across the border.
Girls are sold out in an early age. When they are 5-6 years old, they just think, oh, these girls are only for sale.
पैसा आउँदाखेरि घरमा म सोच्थेँ कि सायद मेरो दिदी कतै काम गर्नुहुन्छ भने जब म बुझ्ने भएँ तब मलाई
जब म सानो थिएँ मेरो मम्मी बेचिनु भयो इन्डियामा हामीलाई पाल्नुको लागि के गर्नुको लागि चाहिँ मम्मी इन्डियामा बेचिनु भयो.
Our dream is to reach every single girls who have been thinking that their life gonna end in the brothel.
It's impossible to think of the carnage, the desperation, and the hopelessness of how things would be in Burma right now if we didn't have the help of Venture.
Bringing the gospel, there'll be huge resistance, persecutions and difficulties. But if we bring this gospel, people will have hope.
Wow. Grateful. I'm just grateful to be here. I'm grateful as I look out at this group. Grateful for so many of you that have shown up in so many different ways, year after year and throughout the year. I'm grateful for those of you who've shown up for the first time. For those of you who did you, I'm just grateful because I see something beautiful when I stand here. Speaking of thankful, I've had the opportunity for the last 14 or 15 years, my wife and I are not in agreement on how many galas we've been to, so we'll be all right. But every time I've had the opportunity to stand in this place at this moment, I've always looked out and seen two people for 14 years that emulate what tonight is about. It's not just the persistence of our partners. These two have lived a level of persistence and perseverance, grit, tenacity. You may know them as Tim and Melody. If you're lucky, you know them as Ma and Pa Skoog. Tim has been a board member since we started. Ma Skoog, you have been a spiritual North Star. And much of the DNA of who Venture was, is, and will continue to be is because of you two. Because you don't give up. Because you have been passionately committed to this idea of bringing hope to tough places. On behalf of our partners, on behalf of our team that adores you, On behalf of this community, we say thank you, Ma and Pa Skook. My favorite night of the year. If you've been here, you've heard me say it. I've probably said it 14 or 15 times, but it really is my favorite time of the year. There's a lot of things. I love reintroducing and reminding us of the urgency of what our partners are going through. I love telling stories of transformation. I love talking about what this room, how we partner, and the impact that happens. I love talking about the impact numbers. I love talking about what transformation looks like. I love talking about what hope looks like. I love being a part of a room that feels different. But tonight, what I love is always you, this room. I love this room. As a community, if you're here for the first time, you are invited into a group of people that, as a community, you have this relentless commitment to respond. You just keep showing up. You keep responding, whether it's year after year here or throughout the year, but there is something inside of you that understands that we can do something beautiful. This relentless beauty. Man, with everything going on in the world, I look forward to this moment because there's like this clarity, this clarion moment where we're like, this is what we were created to do, to see other people in need and to respond in a way, maybe even that it hurts, but it feels good. It's a good hurt. I love that. And because you choose to respond, because many of you choose to respond more than just a few times, what happens is this moment, this night becomes a catalyst for what we get to do for the rest of the year. It's a catalytic moment. It's a moment, and yeah, we give it a lot of different points, but at this point, we can track whatever happens here sets the tone and the course for the next year. Last year, we had clearly the most generous night we've ever had, and guess what? All year we've been celebrating the greatest impact that our partners have ever had because of what you did. This is just 1 year what we've been celebrating. Last year we were able to provide 13.1 million meals to refugees, to people that are displaced and diseased and dying. 13.1 million meals. Now, to be fair, they're not all as good as this meal, but they're often life and death. Last year, we were able to rescue and provide safety to 600 girls to be rescued from human trafficking. That's literally every single person in this entire room, guests and workers alike, in 1 year because of your generosity. That is mind-blowing to me. One of the greatest indicators and initiators of human trafficking is the way that women are treated in the areas that we are served. They're marginalized, often treated as property, and so we commit to coming alongside of these women and giving them training and tools to remind them, to encourage them to be who they were created to be and to thrive. And so last year, our partners provided training and kits to more than 14,000 women. And in my 14 or 15 years, one of the things that we've learned is if you want to see sustained community transformation, it's the presence of a faith community. Our partners started over 8,000 churches last year in places that didn't know the good news. And I know in a room like this, we are all in different places in our spiritual journey, so let me just give you shorthand on the good news. That there's a God who has a design, and he's not mad at you, and he's created a system for everybody to thrive. That's good news. What's crazy to me about those numbers that anytime I'm asked to speak, I can't wait to share. I can't wait to celebrate. I can't wait to talk about our partners. The crazy part about it is those incredible numbers happen in some of the most difficult, dangerous, deplorable, difficult situations on the planet. Our partners, they have this ability in some of the places that it is hard to wrap words, images, or even capture it through video, what they are going through on a day-to-day basis, and yet they're doing these incredible things. It makes me think of the ancient text in 1 Corinthians 16:9 that the writer is talking and he says, hey, there's a great door of opportunity. And there's this mounting obstacle and opposition. And I think about that with our partners as they stand in this tension between this great opportunity. I mean, when you are providing 13 million meals, rescuing 600 girls, when you're planting churches, when you're caring for women, this is incredible stuff. And they're also facing some of the most violent, unstable situations that we could know. Now, we are intentional about what we mean when we talk about the tough places where we serve. In fact, our director of international programs is working on her second doctorate, and in her spare time, she has created a matrix for how we talk about these tough places, thousands of data points pulled in from different databases from all over the globe in real time to help us understand what tough places are and what they look like. But I cannot explain it to you because I'm not that smart. So the shorthand of it is, we work in the intersection of three uns: unsafe, unreached, and unresourced. The unsafe places we work: countries with the longest ongoing civil war and unrest, governments committing ethnic genocide, countries where, because of an evil, unjust caste system, women and children are relegated as second class in property and are trafficked at unspeakable rates. Places where it's illegal to meet in groups of more than 9 people because the government is trying to suppress speech and religion. Places where, as my wife, our MC, communicated, we had 70 pastors imprisoned last year. Places where there is extreme poverty and poverty that becomes violence. Places that are unstable, places that hurt. This is the unsafe. And then unreached. We specifically target places where less than 2% of all people have heard this good news. There's a creator that loves you and has created you to thrive. And unresourced. With unsafe and unreached, then we overlap that and we look for places where less than 1% of all Christian giving goes. So the places where it's needed the most, where there's the most injustice, is being resourced the least, which is another whole kind of injustice. And that's what makes it tough, that's what makes it unstable, that's what makes it difficult, and that's where we want to be. And that's what we are celebrating as our partners in those areas that choose to be there. We partner with local leaders, almost predominantly who are born and raised in that area, understand the complexity of the situation, the complications, but also have deep hope. That they see their community and they do not want to settle until that community is transformed. And we come alongside of these partners and we will help them with almost any idea or any project or program, but we have 4 main programs that Venture focuses on. And one of them is our refugee care program, and our refugee care program is mostly on the border of Myanmar and Thailand. In Myanmar, there is an 80-year civil war and civil conflict. It's estimated that approximately 20 million people need aid just to sustain life right now in those areas. And yet there we use a feeding program that becomes foundational to all of the other programs like education and agribusiness and vocational training, to come alongside of them, to give them hope in a historically unstable place. And it's like people like Koala, the artist who is doing this art. Koala was trained at a college of arts to be a professional artist. And then he heard about the refugee crisis, specifically kids who don't have parents because of the violence, and he stopped what he was doing and he started an orphanage. And now he uses his paintings to fund the feeding of these kids, the care of these kids. And I'm so moved by that. And I stop and I'm encouraged to go, what do I have? He's using his art. What do I have that I can give to help people when I find out that there's a need that's happening? That's why we brought the art in, so that you can see it, so that you can bid on it, so that you can be a part 100% of everything given will go to feed these kids in our refugee care program. I think one of the most heinous injustices on the planet is human trafficking. I think it would be hard for anybody to argue against that. And so we target areas where some of the communities, up to 90% of the girls are being trafficked. Sometimes when mothers are pregnant, pimps will come and purchase a girl when she's in utero, and then come back when she is 8, 9, 10, or 11. This kind of injustice can't happen, and our partners come alongside of it. They come and they provide safety and rescue. We work on the borders between Nepal and India, where it's estimated that 15 to 20,000 kids aged 6 to 16 are being trafficked every time, and we have Border Patrol stations that rescue in this area. And they come alongside, and that's why over the last 10 years, because of your tenacity, because of your generosity, because you keep showing up, even when it's difficult, even when it's hard, even when the finances are tight, even when you feel like you've been asked again, because you've shown up in the last 10 years, we've rescued over 3,000 girls from this situation. It was a couple of years ago at the gala that we initiated one of our survivor-led programs. One of the things that I'm most proud of to be a part of is to watch some of the people that have experienced some of the most difficult things done to their body and their minds and their villages, that rise up strong like the phoenix out of the ashes and begin their own programs. And Our Home Nepal was one of those programs, a program that identified 70 of the most vulnerable young women that were just aging out of their high school experience, and would give them the opportunity to continue their education and their vocational training. One of our heroes and friends, Hannah Badi, started this program, and this last year we were able to see 37 of those first 70 graduate. And so you see this, and what I love is the shift. If we're not careful, we only talk about the pain, we only talk about the vulnerability, we only talk about the marginalization, but we forget to talk about this. There are 6 of them went on, and they have jobs in marketing and in business. 9 of them are working in hotels and hospitality. 1 of them is going on to get her full-time teaching license. Another one is studying to be a doctor. 4 of them are in full-time Christian ministry, and one of them that we highlighted 2 years ago, her name is Sarmila, continues to thrive in the fashion industry. And you all stepped up. There are 2 churches represented right over here that stepped up in a big way, because you choose to keep coming to the table, because we push through just feeling deeply and step into something meaningful. This is what we get to celebrate. These lives, these futures, and the generations that will be changed because of it. So when we say thank you, when I talk fast, it's not because it's my 3rd cup of coffee, it's because I am thrilled with what we see happening in this moment. One of the root causes of trafficking is the misconception of the value of women and children in the areas. Women are often seen as second-class citizens and even property. And because there are generational stigmas, it puts them at a disadvantage, both in things like education and vocation, but also just in knowledge and understanding of what's happening in their own body. And so our women's health program seeks to get at the root of it and come alongside and give the proper training so that women can be who they were created to be: powerful and often right. I see that hand. I see that hand clear. This last year, one of our newest partners, Joyti, started doing medical clinics in rural areas, giving training around maternal care and feminine hygiene. And to see this kind of progress in these areas is remarkable. Those of you who ran for Run for Her, this is part of your story, because you stopped, you intercepted your life, you took time, you took space, and people's lives are changed. And we know, we've seen it. we've seen the greatest source of transformation is faith communities. They're not big old churches like what maybe you go to. They're not big buildings, because buildings often get knocked down in these places or taken. Large groups often get unwanted attention from the government, but these are small faith communities that often meet in huts and homes and fields and caves. And they become the center of transformation. They become the center, a catalyst in their communities. There's one with the church planting. We went to this community. It's called the Rana people. And along with church planting, they had this idea that they wanted to start a watermelon farm. Now, I mean, forgive my ignorance. I didn't know watermelon farming was a big deal in Nepal, but literally because of somebody in this room, a $500 seed capital, literal seed capital, because it was watermelon seeds, turned into initially 60 families that were all doing this farming, and it was so successful that now on some levels it's impacting more than 5,000 people in that community. And this is what this kind of transformation looks like. And sometimes, and I see it on your face, you're like, wait, you got to slow down. I thought we started with church planting, then you went to watermelon farm, and then you went to community transformation. And I say, exactly. That's what it looks like, because our partners are simply convinced of this. Oh, we're supposed to love our neighbor. We're supposed to see the marginalized. We're supposed to understand that our futures are wrapped up in this interconnected thriving. And so this is what the kind of community transformation that we're seeing. And I'm telling you, it's not just watermelons. It's all over the place in communities like the Harjan people. Watch this.
विपन्न र दलित परिवारमा मेरो जन्म भयो र बाल अवस्थामा हेरौँ भने त्यो बेलामा धेरै पानी नचल्ने छुतभेउको भावना थियो। पढाइ लेखाइको समस्या साह्रै अप्ठ्यारो थियो। मेरो बहिनीहरू कोही पनि पढ्न पाएन, म मात्र। अनि त्यसपछि जागिर नोकरी त सानो पढाइले गर्दा मेरो बाजेले लामा झाँक्रीको काम गर्नुहुन्थ्यो र राति सुत्दाखेरि मलाई पनि उहाँले बताउनु हुन्थ्यो। अनि लामा झाँक्रीको काम मैले त्यो बाल्य अवस्थामा उहाँले सिकाएको कुरा मैले पनि तन्त्र मन्त्र गर्थेँ त्यो बेलामा। म एक दिन त्यो बेलामा दुईजना एउटा पास्टर नि सायद यो बाहिर कहाँ उहाँहरूको साइकलको चैन फुत्कियो अनि उहाँहरू साइकल चढाएर म कहाँ आएँ। अनि मेरो आमाको दिदी बिरामी हुनुहुन्थ्यो, साँझको बिरामी थियो, पोखिराख्नु भएको थियो। अनि त्यसपछि यहाँहरूले प्रार्थना गरिदिनु भयो। अनि प्रार्थना गरेको एउटा चमत्कार मैले के देखेँ, अनि भोलिपल्ट फेरि उहाँहरू घुम्दै आउनुभयो। अनि मैले तपाईँले नमान्नुहोस्, तर मैले एउटा सत्यको सुसमाचार तपाईँहरूलाई बताउन चाहन्छु। उहाँले यसोको बारेमा बिस्तारै बताउँदै जानुभयो। तर प्रभुलाई पाएको पछि मेरो परिवर्तन भयो। अनि छोडिसकेपछि मैले के गरेँ, अब यता बाइबल पढ्ने पनि कोही थिएन। अब कसो के गरौँ भने गाउँले पनि मलाई हेला गर्न सुरु गरे। हो के हो कसो भने म त धेरै अलमलमा परेँ। तर वचनले मलाई भनिरहेको थियो कि तिमी राम्रो बाटो हिँडिरहेछौ। मेरो एउटा नयाँ हिम्मत मेरो मनमा जाग्यो। अनि गाउँमा गएर मैले अब गीतको माध्यमबाट म गाउँमा जान्थेँ। अनि त्यो भजनको माध्यमबाट भिड हुन्थ्यो त्यहाँ। त्यस प्रकारले मैले सुसमाचार सुनाएँ। और सुसमाचारका साथ मैले त्यो अब यो नशा खाने जुन बानी थियो हाम्रो, खास भनौँ भने हरिजन परिवारमा, दलित परिवारमा, अनि नशाको बाट मुक्ति हुने विषयमा धेरै कुरोहरू बताउने। अनि बिस्तारै सेवाकाई बढ्दै गयो। अब हाम्रो विश्वासीहरूको सङ्ख्या पनि बढ्दै गयो। जसमा एउटा गाउँ छ जस गाउँमा 150 घरधुरी छ। त्यो मध्येबाट लगभग 700 जना विश्वासी छ। उसमा 1-2 घर छैन, तर लगभग 700 जना विश्वासीहरू छ। यस प्रकारले अहिलेसम्मको हाम्रो सेवकाईमा र जनचेतनामा लगभग तपाईँको टोयलेट भनौँ भने 98% घरमा टोयलेट छ। पहिला घर पनि थिएन, तर अब 60% लगभग घर छ। 98% बालबालिका अब स्कुलमा पनि गइरहेका छ। अहिले हाम्रो जुन पहिला छुवाछुतको भावना जुन थियो कि प्रार्थना पनि गर्दैछौँ कि यो पुरा गाउँपालिका हाम्रो एउटा नमुनाको रूपमा मेहनत गरेर जनचेतना दिएर एउटा नमुनाको रूपमा खडा गरौँ भनेर हाम्रो यही सोच छ। हामी 81-82 गाउँमा हाम्रो विपन्न वर्गहरूमध्ये महिला र विभिन्न प्रकारका जातिमा हामी एउटा नयाँ जनचेतना मुलुक तालिम, मलाई विश्वास छ जस्तो धेरैजनाले प्रभुलाई चिन्नुभयो उहाँहरूलाई पनि प्रभुले चिन्नुहुनेछ भनेर मलाई एउटा आशा छ।
You know, we can watch a video like that where it started out with this community was so desperate. They were living in generational poverty at the time. I mean, when they first were introduced to the gospel, I mean, there was so much hatred. Can you imagine being told your entire life that you are nothing just because of the caste that you were born into? So how would you view yourself? How would you view the other people within your community? I mean, no wonder there was so much addiction and darkness and hopelessness. But the gospel was introduced to these people, and because of that, it was almost like the light went on. Like they could see each other for the first time. They could see their value for the first time. And because of that, this community was completely transformed. They're sending their kids to school. They're launching businesses. Their farms are flourishing. Addiction has been erased. And it's powerful. And when we think about the gospel and the transformative work that it does, I mean, make no mistake, the gospel is a key and core part of fighting injustice. This is why we exist. This is why we get to do these incredible adventures throughout the year. That's why we get to advocate for the poor and the oppressed and the marginalized. We get to come alongside the widow, the orphan. We get to come alongside the refugee and care for them. We get to come alongside these young women who have been rescued out of obscene situations, and we get to introduce them to hope. And it's not just for the individual. It is not just affecting just a few people here and there. It is literally transforming generations. Yeah, we can clap for that. I got to clap over here. Well, tonight, we are so excited to introduce you to one of our heroes. You know, this man, this individual, he has been doing such incredible work where some people would see impossible situations. He is seeing opportunities. He is seeing the impossible happen. And so tonight we want to give a warm welcome to Pastor Jonathan. But before we do, there is a brief video that we would like you to see.
There are 2 million displaced people along this border, communities of hundreds of thousands that rely on food aid coming from somewhere else. Under a military junta, the government are not helping people. They are cutting off their food supplies. They're putting landmines in their crops and fields. They're chasing them out of their homes and then doing bombing raids over the top of them. When our teams have managed to get the food across the border and it gets up into these communities, the looks on their faces, the shouts, the cheers, what a difference it makes to be able to go, not just with a handful, but with trucks full of food. And I've had this said to me by so many people, you mean somebody in another country knows about us? Somebody cares enough to help us? That is something that is beyond measure. We're alleviating so much of the tension, the pressure, the desperation in being able to give food to their kids and their families so they can last another week until we come back again.
Wow. What a night it's been so far. I'm so excited that you get to be here, Brother Jonathan. This is an absolute legend. If you talk to anyone in Southeast Asia, or anyone that's done work in Christian ministry, you guys are actually getting to hear from a total legend. And I'm so excited you're here, brother. And so just to give a quick opening, you have a unique kind of background, right? It's your mom is part Burmese and part British, and then your dad is part Indian, part British, and Iraqi, and was an Olympian.
My dad was an Olympic, yep.
Okay, so that's kind of like most of our story here, right at that point. But then you also sound like Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. So you lived in Australia for a while as well.
Yeah, I'm born and bred in Australia.
Okay, and then your first start, you decided, hey, I'm going to serve God in the difficult places. The first place you got your start was what, in Borneo? Is that right? Amongst the headhunters.
Yes.
And when Brother Jonathan told that to our staff, Tiffany, she goes, oh, he worked with executive recruiters.
Yes.
Yeah. And I said, no. Headhunters, like blow darts, skulls, and miracles, right?
Yes.
And so a quick one, did you take your wife with you on this?
My wife came one time. It was a little bit dangerous for
Just a little
her.
bit, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
This is my lovely wife here.
Oh, and so, wow. Yeah, let's 50. Here we go. Judy's here. Yeah, and how long have you guys been married?
51.
Right, so you take your wife to see headhunters, and 51 years later, that's awesome. Yeah, you can clap for 51. Let's do that. That's amazing. Yeah. Okay, so then you feel called to the border of Myanmar and Thailand, and inside the internally displaced people camps inside Myanmar. And, you know, we call it the longest running civil war. But the UN has actually called it a genocide. So what we're talking about is the longest running genocide in modern history. Yeah. And you have served there for how long?
3 decades.
Can you, most of us don't even have a category for what it's like to serve in a genocidal war zone. Can you explain a little bit of what that's like?
Well, it's actually quite easy when you see need. And people don't have an answer. And tragic when they're under such brutality and you watch a younger generation trying to grow up without hope and feeling that nobody cares. And it just seems so normal to try to help them, to want to do something to make a difference.
But when you're saying trying to help in this region, you were explaining to me earlier that aid is actually illegal? What's that? Talk about that dynamic. What's going on here?
When I first went into Burma in '91, we were feeding people and found out that we would be arrested because it was against the law to feed the hungry.
Wait, I don't have a category. It's illegal to help. It's like hope is illegal, food's illegal.
Yes. And it's still illegal, and it's been reinforced again in the last few weeks to make sure that no organization can bring food and give it to the people. It has to go to the military, which isn't a really good idea.
Yeah, and so does that, for decades, what that's meant is it's very dangerous to help people where you help them.
It's challenging, it's life-threatening, and it does cost lives.
So have you had some of your team?
Yes. A few years ago, 2 of our team were shot for feeding people with manna food. And what startled us was we found out at the same time their families found out. And then 2 of their family put up their hand and said, can we take their place? And by that evening, they were carrying the food in the place of the others.
Oh my gosh. So 2 people give their lives, and then the same night,
yes,
people signed up to do the very same run that people had died on to get food.
And they're the heroes. They're the champions.
Wow. That's just incredible. And he's being a little humble. You've been shot at, and you've been
Nearly
near
lost
miss.
my head.
Oh yeah, many times too
Yes.
as well. So
Yes.
you've been putting your life at risk to serve in these really difficult places. Tell us, paint a little bit more of a picture of what life is like in the IDP camps and why it's so desperate and why there's aid that's needed so badly.
We often think of refugee camps being a good idea, a place where you can go and somebody's going to feed you, but nobody's going to feed you. And your host government find you as a blight on their society. And every now and then, the government that's hosting, I'm being politically correct, not giving names, will push you back over the border, knowing that there are people waiting to shoot you. We get used to seeing people running from across one side of the border into the other side of the border to the friendly land, drop their kids off and run back only to get shot on the way back.
Jeez.
The refugee camps are really tough, and there's very little for them. And so, for many years we've been working with medical groups and aid and children's programs and food programs in the refugee camps, because otherwise they don't get fed.
Wow. And again, these are just hard things for us to understand. So the genocide is because of their own government coming against the minority people.
It swings between a government that becomes the military junta, that the junta becomes the military government, and back and forwards. And it's all about power, money, wealth, greed, and status. The loser is the people.
Yeah. And the people who are targeted are the minority groups, is that correct?
There's a lot of different ethnic groups that, with Burma was really a bunch of nations that were then ruled by a military junta. No say in it, but now if they don't agree with the junta, they're the enemy of the junta, which means your children should be shot. Jeez. Your wives should be imprisoned or trafficked. Your farms will be landmined. Your schools will be bombed.
And so there's defenseless bamboo villages that are being bombed by airplanes. And did you tell me even they're drones now they're using?
Yeah. Our granddaughter, who during her school holidays in Thailand would go to the Burma border at 16 to help the refugees. And one day, a Russian fighter jet with a Russian pilot, minor error there, and came over and strafed all the people running along the border, miscalculated and strafed a Thai school while they were at it. And but the people, they've got sticks and they've got sickles and some old patted down, put the old powder buster guns, but they don't have that sort of weaponry. But so there's Chinese weapons and Russian weapons and missiles and drones and everything possible. The drones at the moment are being particularly overused in dropping landmines around churches, schools, and throughout farming land.
Jeez. I can't understand a drone dropping a landmine in a school for kids. And yet that's where we serve.
Yeah.
And you've been there 30 years, and how much, you were telling me just how much aid we've been able to do together just recently.
Just under 800 tons of food aid.
That's this community here.
Yes.
800 tons to the darkest places that you're hearing about, bringing hope. And tell me the difference that aid, food, and the gospel make in this area.
Oh, look, you've got entire communities, not just kids, but families. It always gets me. I'm a dad. We have a lot of parents here. There's no way we're going to put up with our kids going hungry or being under threat. And, we see the kids running with their school books and then going in trenches or in caves to escape the bombing so they can sit somewhere still to finish their schoolwork. That kind of tells you there's something really missing and wrong. When mum and dad are eliminated, we have one whole town with some of our folk that are under us, Burmese couple, every single male in her village and her community was taken out, killed, shot dead on the spot. The children ran. The mums ran after them. And it's about 18 days to the border from where they are. They all made it to the border to be turned back. And now they're in safe places where nobody finds them. And we're looking after them. They're being fed.
Oh my gosh. And the thing that like I'm just shocked with is how you've been over the decades been able to build a reconnaissance team that finds out where the army is, and then you said you start hiding food in different places so that people can make it to the end of the border, and using kind of first grade military reconnaissance training to be able to help people move these people through the IDP camps to safety. And how many people do you think you have now in your team that you've been coordinating and working with?
We have roughly 200
Wow.
in our team that are dispersed right across Myanmar, Burma, and they're all volunteers, nobody gets paid. They risk their lives for the privilege of helping people. That's what they do. And it takes a lot because they've got an enemy that's hunting for them. And so, you know, making sure that there are places that they can go to get food. We did build 2 very large warehouses in the jungles, and only 2 months later it got found and bombed. But fortunately somebody that liked us warned us, so we were able to move all the food out and bury it somewhere else so the locals could all know where it was.
Wow.
On their way past to safety.
Man. And talk about like what kind of hope the gospel and food can, the difference it can make to these children.
Look, this is a people without hope. And you saw in that bit of video, I said there about, they're stunned that people in another country know about them. That is huge. And it actually brings a spark of life and hope to them. We always tell them, there are people who are caring about you. There are people sending food for you. There are people, and they're looking for it coming because there's not much else for them. They don't believe there's a future for them. If you've had 80 years of the same thing, there are old men and women, great-grandmothers, who've never had hope. And to watch their faces when we turn up, and it's the second time. You know, the first time is remarkable when you turn up with food and medicine and water and everything else. But it's the second time because the comment is, you came back.
Wow.
We get to eat again. It's remarkable.
And you've been coming back for 30 years.
Yeah.
Wow. What drives you to be so, my dad has a phrase that you don't measure passion by moments, but you measure passion by decades.
Yeah.
And you truly have a passion for this for decades. What drives you?
I think my mum would smack me if I didn't, but...
A good mom.
Yeah. And my mum grew up in a kids' home.
Yeah.
And knew what it was to not have a family with her. And when we're there and we meet these kids, they really are desperate for help. My wife loves to take these kids and just hold them, hug them, and it just changes their demeanor. It gives them a sense that somebody else, these people with this pale skin, know about us and love us. And it drives us constantly because at night sometimes I lie awake and I just think about kids crying because they're hungry or crying because dad's not there and mum's not there. And I find that really unbearable.
I remember one time you told me the thing that keeps you going is the next kid.
Yeah, we had somebody ask us once why we were feeding people. I thought, what a stupid question. I said, because they're hungry, you idiot. I am an Aussie.
And I got to tell you, the stories that he's been telling me the past couple of days, first of all, most of us are like, that's unbelievable. I wish we could share stories I mean, you could share stories for days of all the miraculous things, angelic things, like unbelievable things that have happened. But what I wanted to do is give you a moment, because in this room, there are people that were a part of the very first meal. Going from, it was actually here in Minnesota, all the way across the ocean, and to your network of hundreds of people, to the first kid. They've been with us for over a decade in this room. And what would you, if you could sit down and just have dinner one-on-one with each of these people, what would you say to those that have been generous in giving sacrificially to see this happen?
It's a strange one, because sometimes you say, I wish you could come with me, but I don't wish you could go there. Nobody should have to see this. I've nearly had breakdowns a few times over what I've seen, because I'm human. We have that one thing about being human, is that we have a humanity. There are people on this earth that are so evil that they have no humanity. I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about what can we do to fix this? What can we do? There are governments to look after the other stuff, but that doesn't feed these kids. And what I would say to you is, everything you can do, no matter how small it is, please don't underestimate the power of what you accomplish when you put something in a person's hand that has a connection to make a difference. We all make a difference. I am very, very aware that I am so out of my depth, and I always have been. I am so kept going by the grace of God that we go in the dumbest places because the military junta would not believe we were that stupid to be there, so that we can feed people, so we can help people, so we can give them a future. And nobody is exempt from being loved.
Come on. That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Well, I wish we could talk, and share stories of hope all night, but we just, if you had one last word of thanks to everybody here, could you just kind of...
We get called all kinds of things, hero, amazing, all this, but it's not. If you ever find somebody in a need and you've got nothing in your pocket, your wallet, your hand to help them, just saying, I wish you well, I'll be praying for you, it is so empty and so challenging. But if you could be us for a little while, that we get to carry something that somebody else cared enough to provide the ability that we can use the connections, the relationships, the groups, the networks that we have been so fortunate to have. And to go with hands full, cars full, motorbikes, backpacks, trucks, whatever means we can get them, by boat, by air, by parachute, it makes no difference, but you make it possible. Those people, the lady that sells doilies out, you know what a doily is, I suppose? Yeah, those little
I've heard of those.
hand crocheted things to people, and everybody goes, why are they doing it? Some of those have made so much difference to kids. Whatever you do, you're the heroes, you're the champions, and those that do it and face it every day, they're the champions, they're the heroes, and we are most fortunate to do what we do.
Well, it's our great honor to be able to partner with you for over a decade. Hundreds of tons, people giving their lives to help those in the toughest places. We're just so grateful for you, brother.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Pastor Jonathan, thank you. It's that moment when the gala speaker reminds you of our common humanity. One of the things that I appreciated most is the reminder that our partners, what it really looks like to stand in that tension between a great door of opportunity and mounting obstacles and oppression. And you clearly communicated what that looks like, the beauty of helping children, the opportunity, and yet in the midst of a kind of violence and evil that is, I'm going to say, almost understandable. I think you got us as far as I've ever heard anybody get us, and I guess we still don't even come close to understand. I think about this tension all the time between the opportunity and the opposition, whether it's feeding kids or it's that picture of those young girls who have been rescued and provided safety from human trafficking. Yes, we celebrate. They're going to have vocation and jobs, and it's going to change their lives and probably their families and generations, but they also go back and they change whole communities. And I also understand that they still go back to a society that still is hanging on to an evil, unjust caste system that speaks of groups of people and women and children as less than. And yet our partners, as Pastor Jonathan said, willingly stand in the midst of that tension. And so do we. So do we tonight. We actually stand in that tension as well. When there are great opportunity, like over 80 million meals have been provided. Not a meal has ever been lost that we have shipped. When there are 3,000 girls being rescued, when there are more than 15,000 churches that have been planted, 20,000 women that have been helped, this is a great opportunity. And yet there is difficulty. There is difficulty both where they're at, but also in our own lives. I get it. There's financial pressure, there is things going on in your family, there's things going on medically, I get it. But this is our moment, and if I could be candid, I guess as candid as somebody who's standing on a stage with a microphone in front of 515 people, I want to be a part of something beautiful. Like I want to be a part of a community that's beautiful. I want to be a part of moments that are beautiful. I want to be a part of a group of people that even though we have different backgrounds, even though we come from different places, that we have some shared things that we all agree on. Love your neighbor. Do good. Seek justice. Care for the widow and the orphan. Look after the marginalized and the oppressed. We can agree on that. We can start there and we can do something in the midst of what seems like chaotic times. What seems like people that are yelling at each other, what seems like, that doesn't look so great. I want to be in a room where people go, that looks awesome. What you're doing, that provides hope. That's beautiful. And that's where we at as we stand in the midst of this. And as you're considering what you might be able to do to come alongside of the work that Jonathan's doing and the work that's happening in Nepal or the different places where we are, we know it's a big decision. We get it, and so Venture wants to come alongside and wants to take this moment as serious as you have, and that's why we give 100% promise. And that promise is this, that 100% of whatever you give will go directly to the projects and programs. 100%, one, because of generous sponsors here, but also because we have a methodology where we have a group of businesses and families that cover our base camp. So all of what you give goes to those 4 programs that we talked about: refugee care, anti-trafficking, women's health, church planting, and a couple of domestic programs that are catalytic to the work that we are doing 100%. And not only that, it's not just my opinion. We have third-party auditors that come and look at what we do. And they inspect our books. And because of our stewardship and our transparency, we are ranked in the top 1% of all nonprofits in the world. And I say that because the choices that we make, how we respond, they matter. And it impacts you, and I get that. And in a moment, I'll sit down with my wife and we'll ask this question of, of what can we do and what will it do. And we can tell you what it will do. Do you know that $300 can provide all of the needs for a refugee family, all of their immediate urgent needs? That's $25 a month. Do you know that $1,100 provides 10,000 meals? Can you imagine that? $1,100, 10,000 meals. That's a great deal. I have 5 kids. We go through McDonald's. I'm telling you, I would sign up for $1,100 for 10,000 meals. For real. 3,600 cares for one of those girls. We all love the pictures. Throwing the hat up. Do you know for 3,600, you take care of every need one of those girls has for an entire year? Education, housing, food, counseling, vocational training. I know that there are whole tables that are in the education business. Can you imagine if all you had to sell was 3,600 a year? Easy peasy, right? We can do this, and for some of us, we can pick 1 or 2 or 3 young girls like this that can help. $6,000, and you can pay for the training of 15 pastors, both their church planting, but also community develop, so they can go in and plant these faith communities that are the catalysts of change. And guess what? The average pastor, within a year, plants between 3 and 8 churches. So you get some bang for your buck. And maybe you have a little bit deeper pockets. Maybe you represent a church or a business. $31,000, and you fund an entire container of food. What is that thing? You know, think of like a railroad car full of food. 274,000 meals. $40,000, and you fund a border patrol station that on average rescues 100 girls. That's $410 to rescue a girl. Man, this is the moment. There are cards on your table. There's a QR code. We've sent you a text. You know the drill. It's that moment where we make this choice of whether we believe that we stand in that exact same tension between a great opportunity and this obstacle. And whether our partners who are already doing it, whether they're alone or we're with them. I'm training for this race coming up. It's the hardest race I've trained for, and I hate it. And I hate the training program. No, really, Jeremy, I hate the training program. But because it's the hardest thing, my mantra has been no shortcuts, no negotiations. In this moment as a community, can I encourage you, don't negotiate down. It's easy for me to go, I got to run 9 miles, but 6 miles would make me a better dad because I can hang out with my kids, or any number of things, reasons to get home sooner. But this is not our time to negotiate down. I believe, I'm seeing it, I feel it. Over the years, we have shared so many stories of individual transformation, and all of a sudden, we're getting these huge community transformation. It's like this, something is snowballing, something is getting bigger and more impactful, and this is not time for us to shy away or back away. It's time for us to go all in because of the stories like the Rana people or the Harjan people or the people in Kailali or the communities and the villages that you're serving. Let's catapult this, let's push this into the next year. On behalf of our international partners, on behalf of the people that our international partners are serving, those young kids in Myanmar, the girls in Nepal, the people in places that nobody's thinking about except a room in Minneapolis on October 3rd, can we stand in that gap together? In advance, I want to say thank you so much for your generosity.
Thank you so much to all of you who have given this evening, or those of you who have given at any point throughout this year. And maybe you're still thinking about it. Maybe you need a little time in the car on your way home to discuss it. That's okay. Just thank you in advance. We are so grateful that you have chosen to be with us, and just so grateful for your generosity. Just overwhelmed just sitting over here and just listening to all of the stories, overwhelmed by how packed this room is tonight. So can we just give us a hand just for all that we've heard, the incredible stories? It's beautiful. It's powerful. Well, this community not only gives of their time or does different events throughout the year, but we show up in a lot of different ways. So this weekend, I already mentioned, we have our Twin Cities Marathon runners who will be participating tomorrow morning and on Sunday. But Sunday morning, we have something that's really fun every single year. If you're available, please come out and join us at the Venture Cheer Zone. I believe there is a slide up on the screen. If you want more information on that, it's basically you're showing up for some coffee, you're showing up for some food, light refreshments, and you're cheering on runners at mile 24 of the marathon and mile 8 of the 10 mile. It's so much fun. It's emotional. You get to watch these people just finally do what they've been training to do for months. So please join us. It'll be a lot of fun. And not to be outdone by them, we have another team that's going to be doing something so epic in the month of November that honestly, when I first heard about it, I was like, how is that even possible? There is no way. Watch this.
We're going to do something we've never done in the most epic, crazy endurance event on the planet. 7 marathons that will be run on 7 continents within 1 week.
We are raising awareness for human trafficking. It is something that's really close to my heart.
I have to move past just feeling bad about it.
I believe that everyone deserves to live a life of freedom.
We want to help take the message of freedom around the world. It's a global issue. It needs global attention.
To rescue people out of sex trafficking, to provide care for survivors, to protect the vulnerable. This is why I run.
Wow. So we're just missing one of our teammates, Ellie, here, but we have Paul, Brent, and Jackie who flew in for this event. So y'all are really gonna do 7 marathons. Okay, wrap your mind around this, on a different continent. So we're chasing them around the globe in 1 week's time.
That is correct. We're actually going to run our first marathon in Antarctica. They're going to groom a trail for us, and we're basically running on snow and ice for 26.2 miles. After that, we get back on the cargo plane and fly back to Cape Town, where we do our second marathon. After the Cape Town Marathon, we fly all the way to Perth, Australia for number 3. Then we fly, there we go, Steve Irwin. Then we go, I love that comment, Pastor Ryan. Then we fly all the way to the United Arab Emirates. We're gonna be in Abu Dhabi running marathon number 4. Number 5 is in Portugal. Number 6 is on the equator. We're gonna be in Cartagena, and we're gonna be running in 90-degree heat and 90% humidity for number 6. It's gonna be easy for Jackie from Arizona. And then number 7, we're gonna be flying to the US of A, and we're gonna be in Miami for number 7. And we're going to be running 183.4 miles in a 168-hour time frame so that we can raise $500,000 more to rescue more girls out of trafficking.
And Jackie, it's such an honor to have you with us tonight. I know Paul and Brent have just raved for weeks and months about you just being this icon in the running world. And you guys, she has 3 Guinness Book of World Records. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. I do. Well, firstly, it's just great to meet the team and be out here and seeing everyone. It's just been absolutely amazing. Yes, I do hold 3 Guinness records. One is for a really silly 100-mile on a treadmill in under 24 hours. And then I have a 50K record too. And then the one I'm the most proud of is I ran 104 marathons in 104 consecutive days. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredibly impressive, Jackie.
Thank you.
Wow. I've done 1. 9 years ago, 1. and done. So this community, when we are given the opportunity, we know how to show up. We know how to get involved. So is it at all possible, as you all are on the other side of the planet, that we can get involved in what it is that you're going to be doing that week?
Absolutely. Check this out.
All right, so you see that website right there? We can all get involved. We can all do something. You might choose to walk 1 mile a day during that week. You might choose to run or walk 3.75 miles a day, which would give you a full marathon over the week. You can do whatever activity you want. You can swim laps. You can, take your baby jogger out, get some exercise. But we all can respond to this. We can all support, share, and follow their journey. So that'll be fun. We'll get more information as it gets closer. Well, you all have been very patient. We have gone a little bit long tonight. We really believe that it's been worth it, especially to get to hear from Pastor John.